good evening. Fucking hell, lads. Cheers for joining. I don't even really know where to begin. I've written a few things down. There's probably 3 things I want to attribute that and go over all that sort of stuff. But before we get into that, just emotionally, the thing we was worried about, that draining vibe of, I don't quite trust us to get the job done. The chickens came home to roost in that a little bit, didn't they? At half-time, I was on cloud 9. We conceded. Obviously not very happy about that, but you concede in football, and you concede to tricky teams like Southampton at times. It happens. Have we died? No? Died on my end. You concede to tricky teams. That happens. It is what it is. But the way we came back, so much fucking hope. Everyone absolutely bouncing. Score against United, that's a fucking paddling. That was the crack. That was what we was all fucking saying. Mint. We scored 2 goals. We created a couple more chances. Mint. That was it. Just fucking mint. The ref was a joke, but we don't blame the refs after a defeat because it just looks like bitterness. I'll happily go in on a ref after we've won, but you just look bitter when you do it after a defeat. The Romeo red card incident is one that sticks in your throat a little bit with it, but I'm not even going to fucking cover that. And Romeo, actually, 53 out of 56 passes today, covered a lot of ground, was probably one of the reasons that I nearly said won then, because it feels like we fucking lost that game. And actually, 1 point is almost useless to us. Almost useless to us. We needed to fucking win the game, and we didn't win the fucking game, and that's a fucking killer, man. But the way United came back after going 1-0 down, it was like, yes. This isn't pretend. This is real, man. This is fucking real. This United team can score against anybody. We proved that. And I think mistakes are the theme of this game. The Romeo red card was a mistake, but like I said, not going to fucking touch on that. Pogba, a real basic thing like not checking your shoulder inside the D, that's not good enough. He's better than that. Him and Bruno only had 28 passes today. They're better than that. But we couldn't get them on the ball. One thing what happened is Southampton, we was talking about it in the watch along, Southampton have this extreme high line. And when you have an extremely high line, it allows you to compress your lines. And it allows them to press from the front. And when they was pressing us from the front, they caused us problems. And they caused us problems as we struggled to build up from the back. We just didn't have it in us properly to move up through the thirds. And they effectively did a fucking great job on us doing that. Marcus should have scored. Phenomenal bit of skill. Brilliant return from Tony Marshall. Would have been one of the moves of the season if it had gone in. Saved by a goalkeeper's foot. Fuck's sake. Marshall should have scored. Hit it right at a goalkeeper's outstretched arm. Either of those goes in, 3 points, and I don't even think it's a struggle towards the end of the game. The subs were, in hindsight, a mistake. It was a mistake to reduce our ability to play the ball. I think maybe Igalo and go a bit more direct might have been a better escape option. Dan James isn't holding the ball for you. McTominay and Fred aren't going to progress the ball or hold the ball for you in midfield. I ain't going to blame the manager for those subs, even though I'm sure loads of you are gonna, because it wasn't like we had better options just sitting there waiting on the bench. That's who we've got on the bench. Could he have done better? Marginally, but you still don't know how it would have gone down. At the end of the day, we are 18 games unbeaten. Ultimately, winning is what matters, and getting into the top 4 is the be-all and the end-all of that. It just feels like, because it was such a sucker punch at the end of the fucking game, it hurts. And I think people are angry because we've looked at the open fucking door of getting into the top 4 And again, we fucking crumbled for it. With a poor performance. As I said, Southampton's high press was very good, but I wanted to talk to you about this. Second half FC. Basically, from half-time onwards, United had 3 shots, with 0 of them being on target. Southampton had 7, with 3 of them being on target. They was knocking at the door in the second half. They had 2/3 of possession, 13 crosses to our 5. They just did us in the second half. That's where we lost that game, where we drew it. Like I said, feels like a fucking loss. I think he probably rotates for next week. Depressed. I'm fucking depressed. I'm absolutely fucking depressed. I think we're good enough to be in the top 4. I think we're good enough to be in the top 3. I don't fear anyone in this league. But that's the script, innit? I don't know how Brandon's doing. I don't know for definite what the injury is. I just saw something pop up on my phone that Ollie's said he's got an update on the injuries. I'll get hold of Brandon tomorrow and make sure he's all right. The comments are going a little bit on the quick side for me to see. 11 draws this season says it all. The draws is what's murdered us, hasn't it? I mean, think about the extra points from that. Yep. Andrew says that it was such a weak mentality. When in the last 3 weeks have we dropped into a low block for a sustained period of time? The team completely crumbled. I think having 10 men for that last almost 10 minutes didn't really help us. That really shook us a little bit. And I think at a corner, if you'd have had 11 men on the pitch, it probably doesn't go down like that. It's no excuse. It's just stating the obvious about what would have happened. But it was a shame to see us crumble like that. And that's the annoying thing. And yeah, and credit to Saints. They're a tricky fucking team. Danny Ings, I mean, he didn't get on the score sheet today, but Danny Ings has been a fucking handful for people all the time, which is why he might end up being one of the highest scorers from the bottom half of the league that we've had. Nightmares. What if Bruno's injured? Well, what can we do? Darcy says the players miss this, not Ollie. Ellis says, agree Pogba should have been better, but watch now how much stick he gets after Sky Sports have led with Saints lead after Pogba error, did they? Dean says we haven't probably turned a corner if we can't move up the table and grab those opportunities with both hands. We can't seem to get over the line when we really need it. Right. 13 games ago, was it? Or was it 11 games ago? We were something like 14 points off Leicester. Today we sit level with them. The progression is there. Right there. Right there. But you're right. We have to get over the fucking line. As a great philosopher of our time, Danny Toretto of the Fast and Furious fame once said, winning is winning. That's all that fucking matters at the end of the day. Winning is winning. And progress is nice, but winning is winning. Tom says, think Ollie could have done better with the subs tonight. It wasn't his fault that Williams had to go, but I feel like the game was crying out for Igalo. I think Igalo's the only one that we can look at and say, yeah, probably. Outside of that, the bench is thin, isn't it? If Williams and Shaw are out, who's going left back for Palace? Young fella called Ethan Laird, potentially, but it probably won't be. It'll be Delo, I would imagine. I would throw in Ethan Laird because he's more than ready, but I don't know how match fit he is considering he's only just gone back to training on Wednesday. So, it could be a nightmare if both of them are out. If it's concussion, it's got to be a couple of weeks for Brandon, which is essentially the end of the fucking season for him, isn't it? Should we have had subs left? No. So, yes, there's 5 substitutes. 5 substitutes, but only 3 stops in play. So you have to use, you could use all 5 at once, or you can do a 2, and a 1, or vice versa. You can do a 3 and a 1 and a 1. You can't take more than 3 stops in the game. We defended too much. We did. They pushed us back, to be fair, and we did sit back and... Oh, I'm fucking gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. That's what I think cost it. Let me know in the comments. Do you disagree with what I'm saying? The Romeu red card, that was a mistake. Should have been a red card, but fuck it. Pogba should have done better and checked his shoulder, especially in that area. We've seen United fuck it up. We've seen it with Fred against Wolves. We've seen a few incidences of that. Marcus should have took his chances. Marshall should have took his chances. Subs arguably could have been better. Any of those things changes, and we're probably not in the shit as much as we would have been. Unknown driller, you're a fucking helmet. Shut up. This sums United up the past 7 years. Feels like we're back at square one. It doesn't quite feel square one. We might have lost this in previous years. We didn't lose it. We drew it. It is 1 point. It's not ideal. It's not the end of the world. But we definitely have to pick up 3 points against Palace. No ifs, buts, or maybes. It's just got to get done. Second half, just not good enough. Is that a fitness thing? Is that a rotation thing? Is that a freshness thing? Those, I think, are relevant and valid questions. I'm going to wrap it up there. Cheers for tuning in. I'm going to head over to the Patreon one and sort them guys out with our Q&A. If you're interested, link is in the description. If you want to come and join the Patreon, I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.